Hi friends, happy Thursday. Today is Thursday, September 10th, and today we're going to be reading chapter 6 of Writing Chance. Here we go. Let's find out what Troy is up to today. Chapter 6. 8 o'clock Saturday morning, me and Foster were back at the stables. That's when they start feeding the horses and cleaning the stalls. Winston wanted the barn to shine. That's what he said. How he expected cobwebs and dried grass to shine, I didn't really know. All I can say is it was hard work, real hard. Besides mucking out the stalls, there was lots of sweeping, carrying, dumping, nobody ever just sitting around. After we cleaned the stalls, Winston brought us new kids around the horses. Real slow at first. Said he'd learned the hard way not to take it too fast. They never had an accident or nothing, but you could see how something could go wrong. You should have seen all the different horses. Most of them were dark brown, but some were almost black. They had some that were all white, and a few were white with dark spots. And their faces were all different. Like some of the brown horses had a white patch on their foreheads or between their eyes. Man, all of them were built. They didn't have any fat horses, and as strong as they were gentle. They weren't trying to hurt nobody. This was only our second weekend at the stables, but we were learning a lot of stuff already. Like you have to know what you're doing with the horses because they could get scared real easy. Spooked. That's what it's called. That was news to me. I didn't think they'd be afraid of nothing. You have to be careful about how you walk up to them and where you stand around them, stuff like that. Winston took us over to a little field. He called it a paddock, with just one horse. I knew it was Luke. I could tell from his raisin color and long black mane. Anyway, Winston wanted to show us how to move around a horse. You guys just watch, he said. He led Luke a little bit away from us and tied him to the fence with a special knot. Horses weigh between 800 and 1,200 pounds, so you don't want to upset them. They weigh that much and they don't eat meat? I asked. Very good, said Winston, nodding at me. They eat mostly grass and hay. Winston had a way of always looking sharp, like nothing could knock him off his game. He looked neat even standing there in the dirt. It's very important that you be peaceful and calm around these animals. We sat there on the top railing at the fence and watched Winston talk to Luke. This is so lame. The chunky dude leaned over me, whispering loud. His breath smelled bad. I put my hand up to stop from getting all in my face. Never approach a horse from the front or the back, Winston was saying. Instead, approach him from the side so he can see you. He was standing at Luke's left shoulder, petting him. Your voice is the second most important way to communicate with a horse. Your hands are number one. Use your hands to communicate with a horse first. I'm going to communicate with my feet in a minute, the chunky dude said, crossing his arms over his chest and looking up at the sky. He nudged the new girl with his elbow. I gots to get out of here, you know what I'm saying? I looked at Foster, but he was watching Winston run his hands all over Luke. Winston stared at his nose, then went around his ears, down his neck to his shoulders and body. Winston was moving alongside Luke in slow motion until he got to his backside. Now, pay attention, he said. I'm going to show you how to get from one side of a horse to the other safely. He kept one hand on Luke's butt and stepped behind him to the other side. Luke's tail never stopped swishing, and Winston talked the whole time, saying stuff like, I'm right here, Luke. He worked his hands back up Luke's other side to his head and down to his lips. Very smooth. Looked like Winston and Luke were best friends. Totally cool. Winston untied Luke and brought him closer to where we were, to the water bucket hanging on the fence. Luke stuck his mouth in the water, but we didn't hear him slurping. Is he drinking? I said. How come we don't hear nothing? Horses drink silently, said Winston. They suck the water. They don't lap like dogs and cats. We make more noise than that when we drink, I said, grinning at Foster. That chunky dude and the girl rolled their eyes, but I wanted to know how Luke could be so quiet. It's grace, said Winston. You may not know what that word means now, but you will if you're around horses long enough. Luke brought his head up out of the bucket and water dribbled out of the side of his mouth. Oh, that's graceful, said the chunky dude, twisting his lips out real far. He and the girl laughed. Can I get closer to him? I said. Sure, Winston nodded. Just be mindful of what you learned. That's right. The chunky dude twisted around toward me, waving his arms. Be very, very mindful, he said all loud. Man, why don't you just shut up? I jumped off the fence and landed hard. Luke jerked back from Winston and stretched his long neck around to see what was going on. I sort of froze, not knowing what he was going to do. Winston whispered to Luke and patted his long neck. Then he turned back to us. That's exactly the kind of behavior that could get someone hurt. He squinted his eyes like he was trying to figure me out. Since you have so much energy, I'll have to find some extra chores for you. He pointed at me and Chunky Dude. Both of you. The Chunky Dude sucked his teeth, but he didn't say nothing else. I was still frozen in place. Luke's ears were perked up, but he was calm. I wanted to get next to him, so I tilted my head in his direction. All right, Troy, Winston said. If you're settled down, Luke's still waiting for you. I took a deep breath and walked over to Luke's left side. I put my hand on him and moved it up over his shoulder. He shifted his weight a little bit, but I didn't jump like I did the other day in the barn with Alicia. Here, you hold the lead line, said Winston. He handed me the rope and stepped aside. Luke sniffed around my head and shoulders, then put his head in the bucket to drink some more water. Let him drink as much as he wants, said Winston. He's comfortable with you. Right then, Winston didn't seem so weird and Luke didn't seem so strange. Everything was cool until all of a sudden I felt a spray of water all over the side of my face and shoulders. Is that close enough for you? The new girl said, giggling behind her hand. The Chunky Dude was laughing along with her. Foster wasn't. Horses do that sometimes, said Winston. They wash their mouths out just like we do. I squeezed my eyes shut. I didn't like being laughed at. Seemed like everything I did at the stables just sort of backfired. But I don't know. I didn't want to quit. I opened my eyes and saw Foster frowning. Not at Winston or the Chunky Dude. He was frowning at me. Thinking about it now, he could probably tell that the horses were already drawing me in. You know, he probably thought he was losing me. I told him about Pop's pacing at night. Maybe he could tell that when I lay in bed listening to that, the only thing that made me feel better was the horses. All right, friends, and that was chapter 6 of Writing Chance. Have a great evening. Bye, friends.